Flexing used to mean the car, the watch, the vacation that screams, I made it. But flexing has changed, because the loud flex is fragile, it's leased, borrowed, or mortgaged. It crumbles the second the next paycheck stops. Now the real flex in 2030 won't be parked in your driveway, it'll be invisible, untouchable, and carried quietly in a cold wallet. And it's going to be 1 million Satoshis. And that's the new signal. Now it won't scream for attention, it won't need to, because when the dollar finishes melting and the system finally admits its bankruptcy, well, the people who quietly stacked 1 million Satoshis won't need to flex, because their existence will be the flex. And here's the wild part. You can still get there, but only for now. But most won't, and when they realise, well, it'll already be too late. See, think about how the world defines wealth today. $1 million in a bank, a 7-figure portfolio, a 6-figure salary. But what does any of that mean if the measuring stick itself is broken? If the dollar is melting, then 1 million of them is just a slower death than just 1,000. Now the number looks bigger, but the story is the same. Now compare that to 1 million Satoshis. See, right now it feels laughable. 1 million, that's just 0.01 worth of Bitcoin, around $1,000, give or take. Chump change compared to $1 million. But here's the perspective shift. By 2030, 1 million sats will mean more than $1 million ever could, because dollars are infinite, sats are finite, dollars inflate, sats deflate, and dollars represent obedience and sats represents sovereignty. Now the real flex won't be how many zeros you stack in a fiat account, it'll be whether you own something they can't print, seize, or dilute. So let's get technical for a moment. There are 100 million Satoshis in every Bitcoin. That means there will only ever be 2.1 quadrillion sats total, and that's across the entire planet. Now, quadrillion sounds like infinity, but if you zoom out and divide that supply across 8 billion people, that's only 262,000 sats, roughly, per person, which means owning 1 million sats already puts you far above the average. So you're holding almost 4 times the global share of the rarest monetary asset in history. And here's where conviction kicks in. As adoption rises, people won't measure in Bitcoin, it'll be priced in sats. Now, just like we don't price coffee in gold ounces, we price them in cents. And by 2030, the unit bias flips. The flex isn't owning 1 Bitcoin, it's owning enough sats to matter. And 1 million sats becomes the psychological threshold, because the new million isn't dollars, it's sats. So picture the next decade. Governments drown in debt. They print to survive. Inflation averages 5%, but compounds into poverty. Now the middle class chases safety in savings accounts, bonds, and pensions, which are all melting ice cubes. Now meanwhile, institutions quietly buy Bitcoin in bulk, ETFs funnel retirement funds into it, and corporations treat it like digital gold. Now by the time the narrative shifts, the price is unrecognizable, and 1 Bitcoin costs $500,000, maybe $1 million. Headlines scream about the bubble. Talking heads argue over whether it's too late. But here's what actually truly matters. The average person is priced out of full coins. They're forced to think in sats, and suddenly the ones who locked in 1 million Satoshis back when it was affordable, they look like visionaries. Just like early internet domain owners, early stockholders of Apple, or early real estate buyers in Manhattan, they hold something no one else can touch. And they didn't need to own the whole thing. They just needed 1 million Satoshis. So let's go ahead and make it personal. Think about the average person's path. They do everything right. They save money in the bank because that's what their parents told them. They pay down their mortgage. They contribute to a retirement account. And they follow the script. Work hard, be disciplined, play it safe. But year after year, the script feels heavier. Groceries cost more. Rent climbs. Retirement looks further away and not closer. And even though they're doing all of the right things, they can't shake the quiet dread that something is off. But now picture a version of that same person. Not a gambler, not a tech genius, just someone who decided to stack a small amount of Bitcoin when it was still affordable. $1,000, a million sats. Nothing that would have felt like a big deal at the time. But fast forward, and while their neighbour is stressed about bills, their million sats sits quietly, untouchable, preserved, not because it made them rich instantly, but because it gave them something money is supposed to give but rarely does anymore, and that is peace of mind. And that's the difference. Same background, same discipline, same life. But one person followed the system's script and ended up anxious, and the other stepped off the script just once and ended up sovereign. See, a million sats isn't wealth. It's proof. Proof you saw the system for what it was. Proof you acted when most people laughed. And proof that you refused to let your life be denominated in melting paper. Now the flex used to be loud, but now it's silent. Silent like the person who doesn't need to show off because their foundation is unshakable. Silent like the individual who knows they hold something the system cannot counterfeit. And silent like the confidence of someone who doesn't need applause because they already own freedom. See, in 2030, the loud flex still exists, the cars, the watches, the shadow symbols, but the people who own 1 million sats, well, they'll carry a different aura, not louder, but stronger. And the flex isn't showing it, the flex is not needing to. So here's the choice in front of you. You can keep chasing the old definition of wealth, a bigger salary, a bigger house, a bigger number in an account they control, or you can opt into the new definition, a million sats, a small slice of something incorruptible, a piece of time stored outside the system. Now one path leaves you exhausted, dependent and broke in disguise, and the other leaves you sovereign, protected and untouchable. Now the difference isn't $1 million, it's 1 million sats. See, in 2030, most people will look back and say, I wish that I had just stacked 1 million sats when it was still possible. Now that regret will be everywhere, because the window doesn't slam shut with headlines, it narrows until you can't move through it anymore. So ask yourself this, will you be the one quietly flexing in 2030, or the one explaining why you missed the only flex that truly mattered? Now the new wealth class isn't waiting for permission, they're stacking quietly. And in a few years, they won't need to say a word, because by then, 1 million sats will speak louder than anything money can buy. Now I've quickly got something which I want to share with you, and this is my new book, They Print, You Lose. Now if you want to check this out, there will be a link for this down in the description. If you come over to this page and come all the way to the bottom, you'll also find the paperback and hardcover over on Amazon. Now I do also have to quickly chuck this disclaimer in here as well, and I highly suggest just pausing the video and having a little read. Now, if you've made it this far, and if you're looking for something else to watch, then click right here and have a watch of this.